next one is ER diagram. So as we discussed in last class, how we start with the ER diagram. So we started with an entity, a relationship, then we comes up with the attributes, then it comes up with types of attributes, then there is about weak entity, a recursive relationship, constants, quantity ratio we talks about participation constants with total and partial participation, then it comes to generalization, then we end up with aggregation, right? We done all this one for developing a beautiful ER diagram for various application in real time, So now I'll write a first ER diagram on company database ER diagram. So first step, you want to write what database you are writing, that is on company database. So company database, I am writing ER diagram. The first step you want to do, identify the entity sets. So first job is to identify the entity sets you need to identify. First step you need to identify is to find entity in a real-time application for a company database. Okay. Next step is to do identify the attributes. Identify the attributes you need to identify for a given database. For a company, we have entities like employee, department, project, and dependents. So first entity you want to go with identifying strong and weak entity. We want to identify strong and weak entity. So we want to identify strong and weak entity, that is employee has, company has, employee, department, and project. It's a strong entity, and employee has dependents, which is weak entity because it's depend on employee SSN. The first step is to identify entities with a strong and weak. So for company database, I am doing that. Employee has two strong entities like employee, company with database as employee, department, and project with weak entity, that is what is as dependents, which is depend on strong entity, that is employee SSN with the key. Okay. Next step is identify attributes. So with the key you want to identify. With the key you need to identify. That is employee has various attributes like SSN, name, age, date of birth, address, like this, and gender. So with key as SSN, department number as department number. So department as department number as a primary key, department name and department location. Project as project number, project name, and project location, and dependents with a weak entity as partial key called dependent name with dependent relationship and dependent name. So this is the attributes identified with key and partial key for weak entity. Okay. So next step is to identify the relationship. Identify the relationship. Okay. So employee has employee with the department. So employee works for department and employee manages department. It's two relationship, and employee has dependents, this other relationship with the weak entity. Employee works on project, this other relationship. Then department handles the project, this is other relationship. So we have various relationship with the identified company database, that is employee works for department, employee manages department, then employee has dependents, then employee works on project, then department with the project, that is department handles the project. So all this one has to be identified the relationship. Identify the relationship. Then you want to identify the cardinality ratio. Identify the cardinality ratio. So identify the cardinality ratio, that is 1:1, 1 to many, many to many, and many to 1, and many to 1. So I want to identify cardinality ratio, that is 1:1 between employee manager department, many employees for one department, right? Many employees works for one department. Many employees works on many projects. One department handles many projects. So one employee has many dependents. So this is the cardinality ratio you want to identify. This is the step number 4. Then, so identify the participation constants. So identify the participation constants. So next step is to identify the participation constants. Means you want to identify total participation or partial participation. Total or partial participation means so many employees works for one department where everybody is participating in the one department. So one employee manages one department, that is contained partial, because many employees, I am picking one department, one HOD to manage one department. So many employees, I am picking only one employee, which is to be partial, which has to be partial because the participation is partial, not fully. So we have so many employees, but I am picking one employee to manage. So participation is only one employee, that is partial participation with employee managers department. So many employee works on many projects, which is total participation on the both the side. One department handles many projects, which is again total participation in the both the side, because we consider only one department. So one employee has many dependents, again participation is one with many, so that is one employee works for, means as dependents, as one employee as dependents. Okay, that is identify participation constants. So now your job is to write ER diagram based on these steps. You need to write ER diagram based on these steps. That is, identify the entities with a strong and weak entity for an company database. Then our job is to identify attributes, the attributes with keys for both strong and weak entity. Then you want to identify relationships in a given identified entities. Then your job is to go for identifying the what you call as constants. So what is the ratio? What is the ratio, that is 1:1 or 1 to many or many to many or many to 1. Then your job is to identify the participation constants, that is total participation or a partial participation that we have. Total or partial participation that we have. So totally when you are writing the entire things is 1 hour, 1 hour your exam, they ask for writing a ER diagram for any of the application. First job is to start with writing a steps to identify the entities, then attributes, then relation, then ratio, then the participation constant. These 5 steps to me to be followed while writing ER diagram. So think it before, guys. So when you go for writing the ER diagram, make sure that you're writing all the steps with identified the steps to be written, because when you write a ER diagram, they will ask for 10 marks, but the requirement is that 5 marks goes for diagram and 5 marks goes for explanation. Explanation comes like this: you want to write the steps by step what you are doing while writing a ER diagram. That's why I written here. I written to by step identifying attributes to constants to be followed. Constants to be followed in writing or while writing a ER diagram. While writing an ER diagram. So next, let's write a ER diagram with the specified entities and specified attributes and specified relationship with what I call as with the participation constants to be followed for writing ER diagram. First step is to find entities. Find entities, that is company database as employee as a entity. So employee as entity with SSN as a key. With SSN as a key and name as other attribute, address as other attribute divided into country, city, street. Country, city, street. Country, city and street. That is address as decompose it to again set of attributes. Then name is other attribute. Then we have age as a derived attribute. Then we have phone number as multi-valued attribute. Phone number as multi-valued attribute. So multi-valued attribute, derived attribute, composite attribute, simple attribute, stored attributes and single attribute. Everything has been identified with the key specified as SSN. Then I will go with writing an recursive relationship, that is employee supervises. So employee supervises employees. So employee supervises employees. So employee supervises employees itself. That is called recursive relationship. Then we have department. So department as D number as a key and D name as other attribute from department table. I am going to identify entity and also I am identifying types of attributes with the keys. So then I will go with what I call as project. Then I will go with project as P number, project as P name. Okay, project as P location. So identified project, identified department as entity. These are strong entities. In ER diagram. Then I have weak entity to be identified, that is dependence. So we have identified as a dependence with dependent name as a partial key with dependent type. Dependent type means father, mother or wife or a what I call as son or children that as he has, as a employee has. Okay, that is partial key. In a weak entity which is depend on strong entity, that is employee with the key SSN. So identify the attributes, identify the entity with the strong, with the weak, with the different types of attributes, with the key have been identified. Next job is to, what I want to do is identify relationship. That is diamond shape that is to be represented. It goes like this. This goes like this. This goes like this. It has to go like this. Okay, then we have to be with an weak entity, that is employee as dependents. Okay, so this is the relationship that has been identified between employees table or employee entity with a department, employee with a project, employee with dependents. Okay, employee with dependents and department with project. So employee works on, employee works for department. Employee works for department. Then I have employee manages department. Then department handles department handles the project. Department handles the project. So handle the role that represents between department and project So employee has dependents. Employee has dependents. Employee works on project. Employee works on project. Employee works on project. So what I done here, the flow, you can check it out. You checked that employee works on project. You tell that relationship that defines the works on. The works on's relationship that defines the value of employee working on the particular project, on a particular project. So employee has dependents defined as employee myself, the has word, the relationship word, the has that defines that employee has dependents. Employee has dependents. So now my job is to go with identifying attributes for relationship. Identifying attributes for relationship. Though I works on as, so how many hours I can work on particular project. So particular employee, how many hours? For example, I am working on the project called ERP. So in a day, how much time I am working on the research project called, or the enterprise project called ERP for how many hours, right? So myself an employee working for ERP with a team of my ERP team working on a project for how many hours in a day. So that defines hours for relationship. Then I have managers. So as you know, there will be HOD in the term of maybe 2 years or 3 years. It may be go for exchanging, or it may be go for transferring HOD of the position to somebody else, right? So it may be transferred, like a 2 years a term, it may be transferred to some other person who is same matching as the profession concerned. That people may be date of the things. As for example, in a university we have 5 years as a VC, right? So each university is 5 years as a term for a VC. So next year again the people comes, but term counts. Which date to which date? That's what I told. Employee manages department means a person who manages the department as a date from how many years he has managed the department. That's what I included, date in a managers. So employee manages department is the date. Okay, and then employee works on the project. Then employee has a dependence. Employee manages the department. Department handles the project. There is a recursive relationship with the employee supervises employees itself. Okay, so I want to write cardinality ratio, because for next job of identify relationship, my next job is to identify the ratio, that is 1 to 1 or a 1 to many or many to many or many to 1. So here many employees working for one department, one employee manages one department handles many projects, many employees works for many departments, M is to N. So then I have one employee has many dependents as a weak entity concern. This is a structure that defines all the double lines from relationship with what you call as relationship with the participation concern with what is the entity with a double line with the partial key as a dashed lines. So now I want to go with identifying, so 1 to many for a recursive relationship. So I want to go for identifying the participation constants as the last step in the ER diagram to show how it works with fantastic thing to be written down, right? So many employees manages one department. There is only one department that may be called as ISE department. So many employees work for, we have almost 25 employees who are teaching and non-teaching employees working for one department, that is many employees working for one department. So myself as head of the department, so one employee managing one department, and one department controls many projects. We have many projects to control. In this examination section, we have to be control that project. We have placement department project, we are controlling. We are ERP projects, we are controlling. So one department has need to control many projects, need to control or handles many projects, and to handle many projects. That's what in one side of the department I given total participation side. I given total participation side because the entity contains only one department. Only one department, but in the employee side we have many employees working for one department. So in many employees, I'm picking one employee for managers and one employee for dependents. That's what I given, one employee managers are as dependents. That's what I given partially here. That's why I given total participation for this side. Then here again one employee, picking one employee and maintaining many employees. That's what recursive relationship contains. One employee supervises many employees. One employee supervises as a many employees. So this is a best ER diagram that has to be written down here. Total participation in the both the side. Total participation in the both the side. So this is the fantastic representation I've been given here with identified keys with dependent name as a partial key, dependent name as a partial key. You can see this diagram. I have taken about 3 entities with a strong and a 1 weak entity and identified the fantastic relationship that defines the role of a particular entities in relationship defining. Then I have identified the connectivity ratio, then identified the participation constants for an particular database called company database, for a company database. So if I talk like this to a company, because it defines the fantastic way of structure, that is employee works for department, department handles the project, department manages the project, so department manages the projects, employee manages the department, employee works for the department, employee as dependents, dependents. It's a fantastic ER diagram that represent the structure or a diagrammatic way of company database, Beautiful representation have been shown here for a company database, So then I will write about next with the bank database, then with the bank database. We know well with the company database. Then I will talk about the bank database, a fantastic representation I need to give for ER diagram for an bank database, Okay. So bank has branches, bank database. So bank has branches. So branches, employees works for branches. So branches contains accounts, customer holds accounts. So bank provides loans. So this all need to maintain well to define the fantastic and bank database. So bank itself, I make an entity or a table that we have. So bank has, so I need to maintain the bank has bank ID and bank name. Okay. So bank has branches, bank has branches. Okay. So then I have, so bank has branches contain accounts, Okay, let's write the entities. Later part we can write attributes. So employees, I will write it here. So we have customers. While writing ER diagram, you need to maintain the structure because bank branches left to right. Okay, so bank has branches contains accounts holds by customer, then employee, then we have employees, then we have employee, then I have loan. Loan as payments. So write a little bit upper so that it may be clear, because the way the payments, so payments has to be analyzed well. Payments, so loan as payments, so each loan as payments. So loan as can be weak entity, so known as payments. So payments can be called as weak entity. It's called an weak entity. It's called an weak entity because loan has many payments. So payments can be identified based on loans, based on loan number. That's what I given loan as payments. So now I write a relationship that is bank as branches. Then branches contains accounts. So accounts holds by customer. So employee interacts with customer. Customer interacts with employee. So here I can tell that employee works for branches. So here provides loan. Loan as payments. So here I need to write branch ID, branch name. Okay. Then I need to write account number, account type. Then I need to write customer ID, customer name. Employees, SSN, then I have name. Okay, customer as employee and a name. So then I have payment, loan as loan number and loan type. Loan type. Payment as payment number, which is partial key, and payment amount that has done. Okay. So we have done with the keys, that is account as account number, customer as customer ID, employee as SSN, BD as branch as BID, branch as branch ID. So loan as loan number, account as account number, that is partial key, that is payment as partial key. So like this it has been built, and now our job is to identify the entity, we identified the attributes, we identified the key, we identified the weak entity, we identified the relationship. Now our job is to identify the colonality ratio. One bank has many branches, many employees work on one branches. So or one branch, many employees work for one branch, or many branches you can tell, but I am telling many employees work for one branches. So one branch contain many accounts to be provided. As a customer, one customer holds one account. So one employee interacts with many customers need to interact. One branch provides many loans. So one loan has many payments, it is double line to be provided. Because of weak entity, I need to give relationship with double line. With a double line for relationship, and double line for participation constraints, and double line for entity. So now it's similar look like. So I provide the colonality ratio. Next step is to provide. So identify the colonality ratio. Next step is to provide. What I need to provide? I need to provide participation constraints. Participation constraints, that is I'm providing one bank with SBI many branches are given like this. Then I need to go with many employees work for one branch. So I'm giving, there is a many branches, I'm talking about only one branch, that is it makes as a partial relationship, it makes as a partial constant, that is it has many set, I'm going for only one set, that's what I mean, it's a partial. So one is one branches provides many accounts, one accounts holds one customer, so many customer interacts with one employee. It is again total participation because there is a many set. I am going for only one. That's what I am given partial participation, and one loan is a many year. It has to give one. It has to give a double type representation, where double line representation, that is total participation. One branch as provides many loans. It's a many MS to M. I want to give it out. One loan has many payments. One branch has many accounts. So it has been represented. It has been represented. So this is the best way I can start thinking about how to write a ER diagram. How to write ER diagram, where I turn a beautiful company diagram with company database containing employee, department, project, and dependence as a weak entity. But when I go for company database, you can see it out. Company as bank, bank as branches, one bank, that is SBI, containing the bank ID and the bank name. Why written bank ID? Because we have many banks like SBI, ICICI, what I call as Syndicate Bank, Canara Bank. We have various banks. That's what I given. Bank ID as a unique ID that's specified, and bank name. Bank as branches, one bank has many branches. SBI has many branches in all over Mysore or area of Karnataka. Then I comes with the branches as many employees working. So many employees work for one branches. As I am going to talk about a mini set, I am going to mark many employees work for one branch, that is given partial relationship, that is bank as, or a employee who works, many employees work for one branch. Okay, so then I need to go with the customer, where branches contains, without any bank or any branches need to contain accounts to maintain, because so many people, customers who are visiting the bank, to comes with maintain accounts. As you know, branches acts as an interface between customer and accounts that it has, money the employee has, or money the customer has. So they maintain the money. People are going to maintain their own money in a bank in a different way, or they get a loans, they will go to visit a bank. So like this, branch contain accounts words by customer, one branch has many accounts to be provided. As you know, there is a saving account, current account, fixed account. Like this, we have various types of accounts that to be provided. So one branch has many accounts to be provided, and one account has many, or one account has to be managed, or a words by customer. So here I can give another shape, that is employee manages account, because each employee has to be manage the account. So employee manager account, so one employee manages many accounts. So 1:m, where one is partial participation and many as fully participation. So here one account has holds one customer, so one account holds by one customer, and many customer interacts with the employees for suggestions or for interaction or getting a loan. They want to interact with customer to interact with employees. So branches provides loans like car loan, home loan, various loans, agricultural loan has been provided. So one what is called, that is branch provides loans. Loan has many payments, which is weak entity, where the loan amount has been credited in each month has to be tracked by loan number. That's what we given. Payment is completely dependent on loan number, where it provides loan has many payments. That has a partial key called payment number. That is partial key has been identified as a weak entity for a diagram called payment. With a weak entity, double line represented with a relationship, double line for many, double line for payments, and the loan as a entity has been represented. This is a fantastic way. Now we written bank database. So first of all, if I see the books, if people maybe see Navate book or various books that referred for DBMS, so there is when I write a error diagram, there is a way to represent. Where bank, what I think, what our reasons have been specified. The way I written is complete knowledge of mine, way of thinking of how the bank may works, how the bank may people thinks of, how the bank employees are, we have So I think my way of analyzing the bank, that's why I done a ER diagram like this. You may see different ER diagrams based on the viewpoint of particular author, right? When author thinks, maybe in US the bank's function is completely different when compared to Indian oriented bank like us. So, okay, so we have different way of representation compared to other countries in a what is called in an operation of a bank. That's what my way of thinking bank is. It looks like very simple way like this. Okay, this is the way I may think, my way of thinking, but different authors think different way to write a ER diagram in a different entities and a different representation with relationship and different way of representation with commodity ratio and different way of representation with the participation constants. The way of thinking is completely different when you go with different authors have been specified. Okay, maybe different teachers based on thinking it changes because DBMS is such a way that it's completely work on real-time application where the people think different way to analyze a data, such a way that subject have been formatted. So we written a beautiful company database, beautiful bank database. Next class I will write a movie database and the hospital database. Later part we can wind up what you call the model number 1, which defines fantastic introduction with the diagram that contains. Thank you so much.